talk to me about what is the average length it takes, or what's the average time you're spending on one image? Is there such a thing?
Sure, yeah.
And I ask this because at your level, like when you see an image and you're like, wow, that is amazing. How did you get there? You know, like, so I think it's important for the audience to really understand, like, you know, you're spending 14 hours, 18 hours, 12 hours, whatever it is.
I think people get really surprised when they hear how long these things take.
And I know this because you spent an entire week making our tutorial on one image.
On one shoe.
On one shoe.
One single solitary shoe.
We had allotted 2 days for that image, and you spent 5.
Originally, yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
That is not ridiculous. Oh, no, I mean, it's ridiculous for the average kind of human being.
Yeah.
But for my work, that's not ridiculous. Like, that shoe was like a key creative image. That's what it would be for if that was a live job that I was doing for work, which I did it exactly like that. So, you know, that could be an 8-hour creation. It could be an 8 to 12-hour creation even. And it looks like a fairly simple thing when you look at it. It's a shoe. It's got some light shooting out of it, cool shadow, bright background. The thing that goes into that, though, is all that time, those hours, but also all the back and forth that goes into making it. You know, we had a fairly quick turnaround on that because we had one client that was Adam. You know, but imagine if you have the art director at the agency and their producer, and they need to run it up to get approvals of their own and back down, and then they have changes, and it can go through, you know, that 8 to 12 hours could take a week, which, you know.
So do you limit the amount of time they have to give feedback? Because obviously you need to get working on other stuff.
No, you can't. You got to make it. You got to make it work. Yeah. There's nothing. I mean, the client is your client.
So what's the longest it's taken to get feedback on an image? Does it ever go weeks?
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes an image will go off and you're pretty close to the end and you think it's approved, right? And we're like, oh, I'm sure we're going to get approval on this round. You know, we're close. Piece of cake. Take on a new job. And they took that image someplace, did something with it, and showed it to somebody, and a week and a half later they come back with changes. Totally. Yeah. That happens.
Is that one of the worst parts of your job?
Well, it's tough because you've like stepped away from that image, those situations, because you're like, oh, I thought I was getting paid, you know, or I thought this was finally out the door, because the whole process of finishing an image that's like a big image, it's a ride right up till the end, and it's like a stress ramp, you know, because you're just constantly making changes and trying to make this amazing piece of art, and it just gets intense right up until the end, and then it approved. That's the other thing. Lots of times you'll get an image approved after this just long process where you guys are talking constantly, and there's all this turmoil, all this shit happens during the process, and then once it's approved, you like never hear from them again. You know, they're like, cool.
It's like a one-night stand.
Yeah. But you have to imagine that your client, especially when they're like at a big company like that, you think you're the only one in their lives, you know? But you don't realize that they've got like 6 other projects that producer's juggling at the same time, and you're like, but you know, what about me? We had such a wonderful time together, and they're like, on to the next, you know, thing. So
on to the next one.
On to the next one. But hopefully you had this really, really good experience with them, and you, even if it was hard, you made it as smooth as possible, and they're going to come back and, because they're like, yeah, that guy knows how to get the job done, and it's cool and easy to talk to, and it doesn't cause problems or cause me more headache because I got 6 other projects going on, you know.
So key to life, don't cause problems.
Yeah, smooth sailing.